Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. You know what night it is, Dirt Night. After a scintillating round last week at Eldora, we go here to Fairbury Speedway for the OzCup Service Illinois Dirt Classic Round 6 of the 2025 Wide Open Clothing Australian Sprint Car Championships by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. An absolute bull ring, this place. Pleasure to bring it to you live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. It's me, Reese Gardner, with Scott Rankin alongside me in the comms box, Jay Kennedy handling production behind the scenes here on SimSpeed TV. Well, Scott, I've been looking forward to Fairbury since the start of the season. It's actually one of my favorite dirt ovals, primarily because of all that banking up top. It is wide, it is short, it's all about rotation and trying to maintain that minimum speed.
Well, I think a lot of it as well is trying to keep the racing nice and clean. This is probably one of the more tricky tracks to maintain the cleanliness in the racing. And you're right, part of that is just due to the banking. The other part is due to it can be a touch narrow. Look at the corners, how short they are. And then they've got a nice long straightaway in between. You look at the wide variety of tracks and styles that we go to. This is effectively a shorter version, if you were say International Speedway, is about with more banking. That's simplifying it quite a bit, but that might put it in your mind. And one of the comments coming into tonight was this is going to be tricky for racing, particularly with the simulations turned up, because these drivers have no virtual mirrors, they have no access to any of that. This is simulated style racing. Therein, the challenge leaps exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely does. You're going to have to be keeping a close eye on things happening in front of you and just hope and pray when it comes to stuff happening behind you. Well, everyone's behind Nathan van der Wacker right now in the championship standings. Some excellent jobs from Blake Walsh in the last few rounds, elevating himself up to 8th in the championship standings. Clayton Davies still battling for that championship lead. Ethan Winter, our defending champion, in 4th coming into the 6th round. He'll be hoping for a good night here to get his championship charge back on track. Some fantastic jobs from our league administrator, Brady Baldwin, as well, in 10th in the championship standings. That's how the drivers look on their way into this 6th round of the championship. Certainly going to be hoping that the likes of Cole Ferguson, Kobe Noonan, Brenton Hobson will be able to get some luck on their side and move themselves up here as well. But a huge amount of drivers here that we're looking at further down these standings that you'd argue should be in the top 10, like Zach Rattray White, Harry Stewart, Brock Thompson also having great pace, but a few bad rounds thus far in the season.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. As you take a look up and down the field, there's quite a number of them. You know, you talk about Nathan van der Wacker, Tim Ryan's had a shocker thus far this season as well. He's just really struggling to put it all together at the moment. So, you know, 2025 is not going to be his year, but that also presents opportunities for other drivers to step their way inside that top 10 as well. So, hey, that's never a bad thing.
Absolutely. This is the format for tonight. We have 10 lap heats here with the top 4 advancing to the A main from each. Same goes for the C main and the B main, but the C main has the top 4 advancing to the B main. So you do need to be very careful about finishing in that top 4. Once again, of course, we're going to bring our friend the spinny wheel out for the top 10 in the A main, reordered by a random draw, and then 40 laps scheduled under green flag for the A main tonight. Of course, the 6th round brought to you by OzCub Service, a leading piping fabricator and installation company renowned for manufacturing and supplying specialized systems tailored to meet diverse client needs. They're dedicated to delivering high-quality results tailored to the specific requirements of each project. And previous winners here include Clayton Davies and Joel Berkeley. We'll see what Berkeley will be able to do here. He's certainly no stranger to winning at this track. The 360s being the cars of choice at that point in 2020. It took us another 4 years to visit Fairbury when the ASC went here last year. Clayton Davies took victory there. So we have 2 form people to keep an eye on here tonight.
Yeah, that sort of gives us a little bit of a form guide as well. But again, so much has changed since 2020. Think about that. You know, how much has changed not only in the platform, but the tire model, the clay model, the moisture model, the wear that goes into the tires as well. This is a really tricky little thing to consider. And, you know, coming here last year, the other thing is I just tuned into Brent Hobson's stream at the moment. Quite a number of bumps as they circulate in practice. They'll run this track in very, very briefly during practice here. Don't want to tear it up too much. They want a little bit of wear on it so that the heats have a little bit of wear there, but they want to leave it so the heats can still develop that track as well.
Yeah, Fairbury is an incredibly short track. It's only a quarter mile in length, or about 400 meters. So laps are completed in just under 11 seconds here in these cars. We'll wait and see if there's going to be any significant track development here before qualifying. But what you can see is drivers are running pretty low for the most part here. When they get to the racing, they're going to be running as high up as they dare, because you could see the geometry of the corners. The banking really increases the further up the track you go. It's almost like one of the more modern NASCAR ovals with that banking variance low to high.
Yeah, really tricky, and I mean, it just reminds me of Bristol, what they consider the bowl as well. So here we go, opportunity now for quick times, and one of the early drivers that jumps out is that of Joel Berkeley, and you've got quite a number of drivers. Ethan Winter, quite rarely, jumps in and has a crack in qualifying very, very early on.
Oh, Berkeley already collecting the wall on his outlaps there. But yeah, that's pretty significant fact that you've said there, Scott. Ethan Winter usually leaving it until very late in qualifying to get it done. But we'll see what he can do here in qualifying, presented, of course, by Australian Speedway results. The quickest time thus far being Harry Stewart on a 10.2. He has already brought it way down there from some of the fastest times in the short practice session, and Stewart has hit the wall on the end of his final lap, so we're not going to be seeing any more times from him. First run of times concluded by Travis Parrott there, who's managed to set a time good enough for 7th. John Schultz putting himself in P2, looking like a contender here today.
Berkeley goes to the top, by the way, 10.231 as well. So he's moved his way all the way up the timing board. And I'm just looking, Ethan Winter, I didn't actually see a valid lap time come in from him. So I'm going to have to go and check that one out, see if he actually did manage to get that in there, or he's just sitting in the car in pit lane. No qualifying runs yet, so he might have gone out. I would say, by the look at that, that might have been his first lap, got time deleted, so.
It's not ideal for our reigning champion. As further times come on in, Zach Rattray White going faster than Harry Stewart, same for Joel Berkeley and Darcy Wilson. We are down to a 10.1 for our quickest time, and once we see drivers like Tim Ryan emerging onto the circuit, as Lachlan Mead has a problem, wondering if we're going to get times below 10 seconds here in qualifying. It is a possibility. Does any driver have the gumption to get that done?
Clayton Davies is just starting his qualifying run as well, so that's probably, if it's going to happen, that might be where it comes from. The 13 machines out there and spinning up a storm. Cameron DeBroad as well. Clayton Davies only good enough for a 10.327, so he didn't fire off all that quick, unfortunately, this week. What's De Bruin got for us?
Big question. The 46 finding his way through of Matthew Stables there, only good enough for P17 for now. Lachlan Mead goes 15th fastest, and Ethan Winter is having another go here. See what he'll be able to do. Running around the final corners here all the way up to the wall, and it's a 10.9 there for his initial lap. Does it actually count? It doesn't. So Winter is going to be having a lot of trouble here tonight if he's not going to be able to get that time down. A 10.5 this time. Does that even count?
No, don't believe so.
This is pretty significant here for Ethan Winter. Oh, he manages to finally put himself into 11th there with that final lap, but I think that took a bit longer than Ethan was hoping.
And Brady Baldwin, no valid lap time for him as well. Driver is currently looking like he's going to try and bang the wall down in just about every feature race he makes this season. Tim Ryan's going to go out there and set P4, no quick time for him. And it looks like a 1.52, so we didn't quite hit the 9-second mark, Reese, but we were only a 10th and a half away.
Yeah, very close indeed. That is an incredible session that we've just seen there. And it means that Darcy Wilson's going to be on pole position for the first heat. So these are your Australian Speedway results, qualifying results. Darcy Wilson only 0.08 of a second faster than Joel Berkeley, Zach Rattray White, Tim Ryan, and Harry Stewart, your top 5. Clayton Davies not showing up in the top 10 there. So he's going to have to work very hard to get it done here tonight. It's time, though, for the first of our heats presented by McSlide Race. And we will have Darcy Wilson on pole position for this one. Bailey Leeson, by virtue of qualifying 6th, has got 2nd for the first heat. Clayton Davies is going to start 3rd alongside Hayden Vickers. This is the earliest we've seen Vickers make an appearance in a night of racing this season. Kobe Noonan and Aston Hurley will round out your top 6. Ayrton Smith and Nick Mithen will be your 4th row. And all on his lonesome on row 5 is Hadley Boyce in the 7-2-7. Pretty stacked field here. A lot of drivers who have a lot of potential here for a good result.
Great opportunity to qualify straight through into that A main as well. And crucially, on the better starting spots as well. Quite interested to see Hadley Boyce as well failed to set a qualifying time. So he's coming from the rear of the heat. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah, plenty of drivers who will want to get their night off to the best start possible here. But as you guys are about to see, watching here on our various platforms, Fairbury, tough to get a good result at. And if you're in the lead, it can be quite easy to defend.
Just keeping listening. So the 2 light towers in 3 and 4 are going to mark out the restart zone here tonight. Light tower on the way in and light tower on the way out is going to mark it up. We'll keep our fans able to pick where they're going for that jump.
Right, so they're going to pass the first of them here as Darcy Wilson lines it up for the start and power down. We are away already. Contact. Banging wheels with Bailey Leeson through turn 1, and Leeson is sent up, tumbling into the wall. That's going to be heat 1 pretty much over for the man who started on the front row of this heat, and a big jump for Darcy Wilson as we get our racing down to a start here. Clayton Davies up into 2nd place. There's a huge battle between Kobe Noonan and Hayden Vickers for 3rd, and it's all on for the transfer spot here with Ayrton Smith and Aston Hurley on the outside looking in.
Yeah, so it's Noonan who holds it down at the moment. Currently a little bit of a lead for Darcy Wilson, so he's looking clean, clear and in control, but Clayton Davies is starting to go after him. Vickers v Noonan, have a look at the laps ticking off very, very quickly here. And Smith is going to try and make a run, but at the moment, Kobe Noonan's got the transfer spot. The problem is he's just about banging down the rear bumper of Hayden Vickers.
And that's going to be a potential change for 4th there. Noonan in a bit of trouble from Smith as he seemed to run into the wall there. It's on for this this second place here. This first place. Darcy Wilson starting to fall under contact there, but Kobe Noonan trying his best there to get the run on Vickers. Smith, I believe, was the one that actually fell back there. I was looking at the wrong place on the circuit. Oh, Darcy Wilson and Clayton Davies, they are fighting hard for that lead as we enter our final couple of laps. And now we're about to see Kobe Noonan and Ayrton Smith come to blows.
Yeah, that's all being caused. Aston Hurley actually gets up and over the cushion and into the outside barrier. He's not going to transfer. Hadley Boyce is running him down at this point in time as well. It was all caused by Kobe Noonan getting a little bit of a break. He decided to throw the slider, but Hayden Vickers couldn't get it done. Dropped a little bit of time. Checkers flags out. Transfers are Darcy Wilson, Clayton Davies, Hayden Vickers, Kobe Noonan. Drivers are out of fuel at the end of that heat. Only about 100 seconds from lights out to flag.
Yeah, it looks like Ayrton Smith was one of the drivers to run out of fuel there. Obviously, because the track is so grippy in these early stages, you're carrying a lot of throttle, and so they maybe were using a bit more fuel than they were expecting there. So Smith was fighting for the transfer, but he'll have to settle for 8th. Our drivers to transfer through the feature: Darcy Wilson, Clayton Davies, Hayden Vickers, and Kobe Noonan. Hurley, Boyce, Smithens, Smith, and Leeson all have to work their way through the alphabet here, and I think none are going to be more disappointed than Bailey Leeson starting on the front row and ending up walling it on the first lap of that first heat. Time for Heat 2. Joel Berkeley going to start on pole position with Steve Duff alongside him in the Iridium number 15. Ethan Winter and Lachlan Mead on your second row. Brenton Hobson 5th alongside Matthew Gowans, with Rob Crawley and Trent Gosley in 7th and 8th. Jamie Stovall for Synergy Sim Racing rounding out the field in 9th. Another good set of drivers here with a few mixed in that I didn't quite expect.
Yeah, Ethan Winter's going to be starting on that second row as well. Opportunities. I think this is all going to be about survival yet again. Slick lines starting to form right in the middle of that racetrack. Don't forget that cushion. She's shuffling her way up. Ripping the top seems to be the way to go out of that first heat. But if you've got to start at the bottom of the racetrack, get that job done on lap 1 and then feed it straight into the top. And practice start there for Joel Berkeley as well.
Yeah, okay. So showing his hand a little bit, or maybe bluffing to Steve Duff as to whether he's going to go when he does. Well, the pace car, the pace truck in this regard, jumping into pit lane as Joel Berkeley looks to get the best start possible here for Heat 2, and he is by nice and early. It's an orderly start behind as Heat 2 is go, and Berkeley holding on to the lead, but Steve Duff already under pressure from Ethan Winter, who remains in 3rd, but potentially going for a slider at some point. Round on to lap 2, Ethan's starting to cut a bit low here, and he's going for it in turns 3 and 4. The slider does not go his way. Steve Duff going to get straight back on by.
Yeah, Lachlan Mead's now starting to line up and try and build some momentum. These are going to tick off 10-second lap times. Here comes a big old slider. Does crossing on. There's Ethan Winter. Now he's out to a 5th spot. Gowans gets promoted. Here comes the slider. Hobson. Was it Hobson? It was indeed. Gets into the wheels of Matthew Gowans, and Gowans will be done for the heat.
Oh dear, so Brenton Hobson might be getting a black flag from race control for that one. We'll have to wait and see, but it is on for this transfer spot. Ethan Winter is going to try and gap Brenton Hobson and Trent Gosley here as they fight amongst themselves for it, struggling to keep the car straight through the turns there as Hobbo and Winter on the recovery here to try and take second place back from Steve Duff. Looks like Rob Crawley has joined the party in the battle for 5th as well. They're all scrambling over each other, and that means that this top 4 is likely safe.
And the big thing is, big bump now starting to form down in 3 and 4 as well. Ethan Winter just threw a huge slider, but instead, watch this, bounces over the bumps, he's trying to light it up, does make contact with Lachlan Mead. No, it keeps it going in the right direction, but the right front tyre is off, and Ethan Winter at Fairbury is in a transfer spot, now he's out. Brenton Hobson's got himself a black flag, now he is out.
Oh dear, Ethan Winter falling all the way to the back as the white flag flies. So that means that as things stand, Rob Crawley is currently in the transfer, and the checkered flag is out for Joel Berkeley. There's been a coming together, and Jamie Stovold has moved himself into 4th right at the end. Man, this has certainly been quite a messy heat, but those results are going to be what stands here. Joel Berkeley, Steve Duff, Lachlan Mead, and Jamie Stovall are your top 4 to transfer through to the feature. Rob Crawley and Ethan Winter going to be mired in the alphabet. Same for Gosley, Gowans, and Hobson, who is going to be demoted back to 9th once that black flag is applied to those results. Oh, man. What an interesting heat too. Well, we move straight on to heat 3. Zach Rattray White for Eclipse is going to start P1 alongside Blake Walsh, who's been a pretty hard charger in recent rounds. Nathan Vanderwacker, the championship leader, starting alongside Bradley Oldfield on row 2, with Daniel Boyd and Nick Ryan rounding out the 6th. Then Cameron De Bruin and Travis Parrott will round out our field, with Liam James sitting in race control.
Yeah, and this will be an interesting one as well. So that gets us through heat number 2 and into heat number 3. And Blake Walsh has been the slick sensation the last few weeks. As soon as that track starts to go away, he's the driver that starts making his way back through the field. Vanderwacker will be interesting. This heat's actually quite a big one as well. You've got Rattray White, Walsh, Vanderwacker, and Oldfield all can mix it up. And I think what we've learned from the first few heats is if you've got a transfer spot, don't worry about sending it. The only time to actually send it for the transfer spot is if you're about to get sent on from behind. Offense is better than being on defense. Other than that, just sit it in and get the transfer, fight it out in the feature.
Yes, indeed. It's incredibly close racing that we've seen thus far in these heats, and we're sure to see more of the same here, with now Zach Rattray White gearing it up for the start, but he didn't execute it as well as he wanted to. Blake Walsh immediately on the attack to try and take the lead, too wide for the lead of the race, and also Bradley Oldfield getting amongst it as well, briefly holding on to the P1 spot. This is already turning into one of the more chaotic heats of the night. Everyone wants that lead, it seems.
Yeah, and have a look at the checkups. Checkups indeed. Around go a bunch of different drivers. They're outside the transfer. Vanderwacker still sits just barely inside. 7 Machine is out. That's Nick Ryan and Daniel Boyd are at the rear. Oldfield and Blake Walsh are back up at the front of Trayden Payne as well.
Oh man, that's a shame there for Nick Ryan and Daniel Boyd. Ryan being assigned fault there by race control. His result will ultimately not count. And well, now we see Oldfield trading places with Walsh as Zach Rattray White is jetting away at the front of the field. Originally a Vermilion in this series, Zach Rattray White, but he's left that team and now drives for Eclipse and is keeping his dirt exploits with him. He is executing this very well as they're already starting to come up on lapped cars. Nick Ryan trying his best to stick down low to allow our leaders to go, as there's the move again for Blake Walsh. He wants that second place, but it's just not happening.
Well, I mean, he's checking up Bradley Oldfield. Now he's going to run down the bottom of the racetrack. That might be it. Here comes the big old slider all the way to the bottom. Does make contact. They both get away with it, though. 2 more laps left to run from the heat. But you can see that Fairbury is just requiring that touch worth of elbows out racing.
Certainly is. But depending on when you make that move, what are you going to do to protect it is the question. Checkered flag out and Rattray White's going to win. Walsh versus Oldfield, another big move, and it looks like, oh goodness, Oldfield just gets Walsh by 0.003 of a second for second place. Nathan Vanderwacker finishing in 4th, and he was well free of Travis Parrott, who works his way up to P5. Daniel Boyd, Cameron De Bruin, and Nick Ryan rounding out your field there, with Ryan getting the black flag from race control. And that is your field for the 3rd heat of the night. Now we move on to heat 4, and this is where some of the heavy hitters are. Tim Ryan, multiple champion of ODSE, is going to start in the lead for this one, with John Schultz alongside him in the Pace Syndicate 78. Blaine Densley and Nathan Norman are your second row, with Oscar Ames and Ben Faulkner 5th and 6th. Gary Redcliffe and Paul Bryan are going to round out your 8-car field for this one. Now, if there's anyone that I would expect to take victory in this heat, it is Tim Ryan, but his form this season has not been quite as dominant as we've grown used to. John Schultz has a real chance here.
Yeah, and luck, I think, is the big thing. I don't necessarily think it's form from Tim Ryan. I think he's just making just little errors, and they're really tiny errors that just blow out of proportions very, very quickly. So, you know when you're having one of those years where just things go your way, well, that's not Tim Ryan's year. The other thing to keep an eye on in the background is Paul Bryan. No lap time in qualifying. Can he come from the rear of the field to grab a transfer spot? We'll go up against it here in this heat.
Yeah, certainly will be. It's going to be a very tough battle for fourth, I think. Nathan Norman certainly going to be facing a lot of pressure from Ames, Faulkner, Bryan, and Redcliffe there. So let's see if the top four can get some kind of breakaway like they seem to have been able to do in the preceding heats. Tim Ryan puts the power down and green flag flies. We are away for heat number 4. And already John Schultz on the attack, but he's not keeping up that momentum in the corner. It was Densley who was trying it, and Nathan Norman gets into the wall there. Looked like a bit of contact, and Ben Faulkner has slid down to the infield. It looks like he might be out of this one, and so now the battle for fourth falls to these two cars here, Paul Bryan and Blaine Densley.
Yeah, Ben Faulkner actually didn't make it out onto the track in the heat, so he's actually missed the heat. But it was the big rollover for Nathan Norman. He got mega airborne coming up on the halfway mark at the end of the next lap by. Tim Ryan's got control at the moment by a fair margin. I said, keep an eye on Paul Bryan. He might come to the rear at the moment. They are 3 wide for the transfer spot. Slide job. They do get up in front of Bryan, but Bryan's going to reply with just a touch worth of contact. That is the nature of the racing at Fairbury. He'll slide back to fifth, but Densley's only just in front of him. And have a look at Densley. He is having a lot of problems getting that right rear hooked up.
Oh, he's having a couple of problems with his internet as well. That's far from ideal for the man currently holding on to that transfer spot. Can he get any kind of run here on Oscar Ames? You see how much at angle the drivers are taking into these corners. That banking is just helping them power around the outside of these turns. And they are rapidly falling into the final couple of laps. Down to the inside there for Densley. He's trying something different now.
Yeah, second to last lap, so he's got to make sure that he picks up some momentum. Looking for the groove at the bottom of the racetrack, looking for a little bit of light. White's in the air. He's going to go side by side with Paul Bryan, but someone got the wall. It was Ames. Ames is going to lose a transfer spot.
Oh, no!
Densley catches the tires at the bottom. Ames is still going to get the transfer. Who got it over Bryan and Ames? It's going to be Bryan by next to nothing. That one was intense. He gets it by 15 thousandths of a second. Paul Bryan, third spot from Ames. Wow, oh, wow.
Good Lord. Yeah, Oscar Ames is probably feeling like the luckiest driver in the world right now. He thought it was all over for him, but ultimately, Densley, unfortunately, getting down and dirty with Gary Redcliffe as well, having huge problems on those final couple of laps. Well, Ryan and Schultz, nothing much to say about them. 5 seconds apart at the front of the field, but Paul Bryan, Oscar Ames, Gary Redcliffe, Blaine Densley, man, they had a really intense one. Norman and Faulkner, unfortunately, not making it to the end there. And it's time for the final heat. Harry Stewart starts on pole alongside Thomas Mitchell, with Darcy Walker and Matthew Stables on your second row. Third row being Brock Thompson and Daniel Grimshaw, with Paul Ward and our administrator, Brady Baldwin, rounding out this field. Now, Harry Stewart, he is way further down in the championship than I expected him to be coming into this 6th round of the series. He's another driver who's traditionally been right up the front in ODSE events, but I think much like Tim Ryan, events have conspired to put him in a bit of an underdog position.
Yeah, and then don't forget you're going to have Baldwin coming from the rear in this heat as well. Didn't get the qualifying time in, so that means he's going to come from the back. But that worked for Paul Bryan in that last heat. This is going to be a tricky one. I think the alphabet, this is probably going to be the most tricky that we're going to see at this season coming through the C and B main. So this is very tight. And I think the big thing you're seeing that's pulling drivers unstuck, Reese, is how shallow those corners are and the angle you've got to send the sliders at.
Yeah, super tight angles at this circuit here. And we're about to find out how tight they're going to be as Harry Stewart puts the power down, and we are away again for heat number 5. Thomas Mitchell keeping up with him nicely, but it is almost 3 wide for third place as the number 61 of Brock Thompson tries to get into the transfer, and he almost succeeds there on Matthew Stables, and it looks like they're going to keep that going for now. Right down to the inside of the circuit is Stables. He's a bit boxed in at the moment, can't find much of anything to do down there as it looks like Ward has had a problem as well. Stuck down low. It looks like the top is still the place to be right now. The bottom just isn't developed enough.
To say that, Matthew Stables is going to go ahead and nick the transfer spot. He's up to 4th. He's driven by Brock Thompson. He's found something. There's a lot of angle. Have a look at him running this bottom side. He's starting to make some ground as well on Darcy Walker as he approaches the 051. It's currently sitting in 3rd spot. He's starting to make time, but that's all I think coming from Thomas Mitchell's checking a lot of them up.
Yeah, indeed. Looks like just as I spoke those words, that was the transition point between the bottom being a viable contender for a line around this place. He's working it so nicely down low, isn't he? Stables now up to 3rd and going potentially for 2nd. This is fantastic. He's made those wing adjustments, I believe, to really get that car working down low. And he's worked his way back up to 2nd spot. Brilliant stuff from Stables, and it looks like a bit of a response from Brock Thompson now as well. He's realized that that's where he needs to be, but he's struggling to get the power down, getting a bit too wide up the top. This is a very interesting heat indeed, and well, the 51 there of Darcy Walker trying to make an impression on Thompson here on the final lap of the race. Winner being Harry Stewart with Matthew Stables in 2nd. Mitchell and Thompson will round out your top 4 there. Darcy Walker, he tried to have a go in the final laps there, making that low line work, but it seems it was too little too late. He, Grimshaw, Baldwin and Ward will work their way through the alphabet. And speaking of the alphabet, it is time for the C Main, presented by Apex Civil Solutions Queensland. The top 4 from this one will transfer through to the B Main. Trent Gosley is going to start on pole alongside Cameron De Bruin for it, with Nathan Norman and Brady Baldwin on row 2, Ayrton Smith and Brenton Hobson rounding out the top 6, and the Mr. 6th place meme is still alive. Nick Ryan and Ben Faulkner on row 4, Paul Ward, Bailey Leeson and Matthew Gowans rounding out our 11-car field for this one. So a few more cars here, Scott, and I'm wondering what that's going to do with regards to lap traffic.
That's going to be quite difficult. Remember, 10-second lap times in qualifying. So now they're up into the 12 and 13 seconds as the track has actually worn out. So that gives you a fair idea. You know, the track's fallen off 2 to 3 seconds, which is basically a quarter of the pole position lap time. How wild is that?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think we are going to be seeing some dramas starting with these bigger field sizes, and it's worth pointing out that while I did say the Mr. 6th place meme was still alive, it would only be on the actual grid, because Hobson, of course, getting that black flag for the incident in his heat, he'll be starting from the rear of the grid for this one, which is going to make his job even harder here to try and get to that top 4. Once again, the C Main here is your chance to actually stay in the night. It's not going to guarantee you a spot in the feature.
Yeah, this is to keep the night alive. 4 to transfer out, have a crack at the B Main. 4 out of the B Main will transfer here tonight. We actually had a quiet night last week. We were down 1 heat, and that meant we actually had 8 transfer out of the C Main instead. We were 1 race shy, but kept a few more people in it for a lot longer. Here we go. First of the alphabet.
Trent Gosley getting a good start, but we're already seeing that Nathan Norman is pushing hard to make that low line start to work for him. Lots of drivers running low here in the initial stages of the C Main. Ayrton Smith down there as well in the red and white, number 64. Brady Baldwin working the high line here. We'll see if he can carry that momentum. He is up into 3rd and challenging. So we'll see what he can do from here. The top 4 look to have a reasonable advantage for the moment. Cameron De Bruin running in P5, and it looks like he just can't find the pace to keep up.
So top 4 at the moment is going to be that of Gosley, Norman, Brady, Baldwin, and Ayrton Smith. Baldwin and Smith going toe-to-toe. Baldwin forced to rip the top as there's nowhere to feed back in, but you can see the leaders have transitioned to the bottom of the track, and there's contact between the 13 machine. De Bruin and Hobson and the 88 have made more contact, so for the 88 machine it's been a bad night. He's going to get more contact as well with Ben Faulkner to the inside. The 88 machine has become the punching bag.
Certainly has, and Cameron De Bruin retiring after further contact with Nick Ryan, so that is far from ideal for any of those drivers, as they're really getting things going now in this battle for the transfer. Baldwin up to second as Norman and Smith came together.
Yeah, and Hobson's had one more clash and he is done for the day as he brings it down into the infield. Just had a big old sigh from him on his stream as well. So either way, in the meantime, Gosley from Baldwin. Baldwin's making ground. Everyone else has transitioned to the bottom. He's found the hole in the top of that racetrack. It's tricky at the bottom. It's technical. Trying to find the traction and get the car to turn is difficult. The top is the more natural line.
Indeed it is, and if anything, there's a bit of negative banking on the inside here, so you really got to have that mechanical grip sorted. Ayrton Smith starting to fall under some pressure from Matthew Gowans in these final couple of laps, so the transfer is still not out of the question. Can Baldwin defend for third? Can Gowans get into the top 4? Well, he's already out of time. Trent Gosley is going to take victory. Brady Baldwin ultimately outclassing Nathan Norman in that battle for third, and Smith is going to join them in the transfer through to the C main. Gowans just missing out, Leeson falling way behind, same for Paul Ward and Ben Faulkner. Brenton Hobson, Cameron De Bruin and Nick Ryan were unable to make it to the finish. That is a real shame for all 3 of those drivers. Of course, it's time for the B main that those top 4 are transferring through to. And of course, the B main is proudly brought to you by SimWrap Market. Time for the B main here in the Wide Open Clothing ASC. Aston Hurley and Rob Crawley on pole, with Parrott and Redcliffe on your second row. Darcy Walker and Hadley Boyce round out your top 6. Then it's Ethan Winter, Daniel Boyd, Blaine Densley, Dan Grimshaw, Nick Mithen, and our top 4 from the C main. They're already starting here. And Aston Hurley getting away to the best start possible. A lot of cars involved in this one, Scott. And there's a few drivers who'll be absolutely grasping for that coveted 4th place.
Yeah, and it was nearly 4th wide for about 7th spot at that point in time. Where do you go on the racetrack? Because there's nowhere to run. Ethan Winter is just mired in traffic. He is looking for any way that he can make his way forward, because he's got to come from the middle of the pack, and there is just no vacant piece of real estate, and how he's fighting it the way through. Grimshaw on the bottom is trying to make some ground. Again, he gets boxed in. He gets pinned. He gets run into. There's nowhere he can go. He's still alive for now, but only just, and I would say that is going to be night over for your defending champion.
Yeah, Trent Gosley and Daniel Boyd also involved in that incident. That is a disaster for all 3 of them, particularly for Ethan Winter. Nick Mithen has been given a incident responsibility for that one, I believe, and he'll fall out of 7th. It is still on all throughout the field for any position you'd care to think of. Darcy Walker in the purple machine up at the top, trying to chase down Travis Parrott and Blaine Densley. These 3 all fighting over the transfer.
Big thing, isn't it? Trying to find your way into that A main. You got to make the feature. You got to come through And for the moment, Parrott is getting sent on by Walker. He's getting sent by Blaine Densley at the bottom of the racetrack as well. Densley's finally going to get down the bottom. He is finding that drive, but the right rear of Parrott sits in that second bit alone in the middle of the racetrack right now. He's found some grip. Finally, Densley will get that one done, but he's going to come back at him. Densley's going to try and find some momentum. Walker will be the next target ahead of him. Switches to the top. Big old wiggle from Densley. Loses the spot once more. Crossover move. Checks that of Parrott up.
That was an excellent bit of driving there from Blaine Densley. Straightened it up and powered it out on the grippy part of the racetrack. You see how much the track is drying out as well. There's a lot more dust being thrown up and lingering around behind these cars, particularly up the top. No such dust down at the bottom of the circuit, though. That shows you how tacky it is. Hadley Boyce making his way up into second place in the 727. He's working the bottom beautifully, but Rob Crawley and Darcy Walker will try and get him back here. That fourth place looks pretty safe in the hands of Walker. Densley has switched back to the top, and it seems he's unable to really get any pace advantage from that.
The problem is starting to run out of laps. 2 more laps left to Garani. He's got to get there. The margin's out over a second, so he's got to make a second up, and then he's got to throw the slider. So I don't think there's going to be enough time. Daniel Boyd's going to continue circulating. No, sorry, my apologies. The battle on as Robert Crawley is now fighting away with Hadley Boyce for the P2 transfer spot, but it's going to be Hurley who gets it done in the B main. Transfers his way up from Boyce, Crawley, and Walker.
Yeah, good stuff from that top four. Some brilliant driving. But Blaine Densley, his heart will be broken. He has just missed out there on getting into the feature. Travis Parrott ultimately in 6th with Smith, Baldwin, Redcliffe, and Norman rounding out your top 10. And we'll find our way through to Ethan Winter, Dan Grimshaw, Nick Mithen, Trent Gosley, and Daniel Boyd. Man, what a shame for all of those drivers involved. None of our B-main top 4 made it through. And, well, our championship defender is out of the night. That is fairly significant. Well, we are going to move to our good friend, the spinny wheel, and we'll have our first couple of drivers make their way in to figure out who's going to start where in the top 10 in the feature. This is certainly going to be an interesting one. But yeah, just reflecting on the night thus far, Scott, I think expect nothing is what February can bring us. There's so many possibilities here for how this is going to go.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to try and line things up, but here we go. We're going to get them start to file into the booth so we can get the spinning wheel out of the way, and then we can go spinning some wheels.
Indeed. Clayton Davies, the first driver to join us here. You've had previous success at Fairbury, Clayton. You'll be wanting to repeat that this year.
Definitely, but it'd be interesting to see where the track goes and how the physics have changed to where we need to run. But I guess it's some hard work ahead of us. So yeah,
it's
up front.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work starting from 8th. That is where the spinning wheel has decided you're going to start. So best of luck on that one, Clayton. You're starting on the outside 4th row.
Thanks, mate.
Clayton Davies we'll say goodbye to for now and say hello to Steve Duff. Been a good night for you here at Fairbury, Steve. Best you can start from this is 5th. We'll see how this one goes for you as the wheel slows down, and it looks like you're going to be 7th alongside Davies.
Well, good, thank you.
That brings Steve Duff into contention there. Bradley Oldfield next to jump in, and well, we've had a few surprises of the spinny wheel for you, Bradley. Let's see whether it's 6th, 9th, or 10th for you.
Oh, I did joke to the boys just before it's going to be P10. That'll be a shame. Oh, well, that's not looking
looks
good.
like, oh, you just get 9th.
Nah, I think that's 6.
And we'll have to get the 1080p camera out to see that one, but I think it's just a pixel in favor of 9th there for you, Brad. Well, best of luck in the feature.
Cheers.
Next up, John Schultz. First time I think we've seen you here in the spinny wheel goings on, and one of your best nights of the season so far. You'll be hoping it continues here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is it going to be 9th or is it going to be 10th? You're solidly in teal. It's going to be 10th place for you.
That's sweet. I'm happy with that.
As you should be, to make it this far up the field here at Fairbury certainly requires some gumption. And Matthew Stables looks like is going to be starting in 6th place. So good job there from you, Matthew. Spinny wheel falling on your side there.
I will take that. Take that any day of the week.
Indeed, good night for you so far as well. Now we move on through to positions 1 through 5, the first half of the top 10. The first driver to join us being Darcy Wilson. Now, this could be pole position out of nowhere for you, Darcy. We'll have to wait and see where the spinny wheel hits.
We wouldn't argue for. I'll take it. I don't mind. I'm happy to bloody finally be in the feature this week, so just try finish.
Yeah, indeed. Some good turnaround for you there. Well, best of luck as we say hello to Joel Berkeley, the other previous ODSE winner here at Fairbury.
Hello.
Yes, could be pole for you here, Joel.
I'd hope so. It'd be pretty rigged if it's not.
Well, we'll see.
Surely, we're going to pole. Honour.
Oh my God.
Told ya.
You
Told
manifested it. Dude.
Told ya.
Joel on
Rhymes
pole.
in the 5. Hope so.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go, Joel. Congratulations on pole position. We'll see where you're at the end.
Probably not my first, but we'll see.
We shall indeed. Joel Berkeley has gotten pole position there, which means Zach Rattray White, you've got 2nd, 3rd, or 5th to choose from.
Yeah, completely forgot tonight was on, so yep, 2nd. Right. We'll take it. We will take it.
Indeed, front row for you, Zach, and we'll see what the Eclipse car will be able to do. Move to the Altus car, the number 98 of Tim Ryan. One of the better nights you've had thus far this season, Tim, and it's 3rd or 5th for you, regardless of where it is. You're going to be starting on the inside here.
Yeah, just hope I make it more than 2 laps a week would be nice. Obviously, got suspended for the last race for questioning the race control for disqualifying in the heat race. Probably should have been a post-race thing, so it's the way it is, but yeah, we'll see.
We shall indeed. It's going to be 5th place for you, Tim, which means that Harry Stewart is going to be starting on 3rd for this one. I was still in pole mode there. Apologies, Harry. It's going to be 3rd on the inside for you.
Yeah, coolio. It's better than 5th.
Certainly is. Well, here's hoping that we have a nice clean start from everybody, and we thank all the drivers for coming in for a chat as their positions were decided. And well, yeah, best of luck, Harry. We'll see where you are at the end.
Thanks, mate.
Harry Stewart there, and that's going to round out our top 10 for the feature here. Presented, of course, by Wide Open Clothing. We've got the Mono Creative Hard Charger Award to award as well, Scott. I think there's going to be some good options here throughout this field for that award.
Yeah, there's a few drivers that have just scraped their way in. Darcy Walker looked really, really strong as that track started to slick off as well. Nathan Vanderwack is back in 18th spot. Paul Bryan ran well early on last week. He's at a 14th. Blake Walsh as well. Remember, he's been moving his way forwards. This is probably going to be the biggest challenge you'll find. He's right in the thick of the field. 13th spot. Literally the first car behind the halfway mark.
Yeah, it's going to be tough there for Blake, but what we've noticed is once the track starts slicking up, Walsh's car comes alive. At least that's what's happened at the last couple of rounds. So plenty to think about coming into this feature here at Fairbury Speedway, the Illinois Dirt Classic, of course, presented by Oz Cub Service. Once again, a leading piping fabricator and installation company, renowned for manufacturing and supplying specialized systems tailored to meet diverse client needs. High-quality results tailored to the requirements of each project. If you're looking to get some pipe laid, check out OzCub. As we check out our race format once again for tonight, it's going to be a 40 green flag lap A main with 24 cars here on the grid. And it looks to me like we're about to go through that. Now, of course, the top 10 that will show up on the overlays here is not how they are actually going to be starting. Those are your top 10 there. Berkeley and Rattray White, your front row, with Stewart and Wilson on row 2. Ryan and Stables rounding out the top 6, with Duff and Davies on row 4. Oldfield and Schultz will round out your top 10. Then moving on through to 11th is going to be Hayden Vickers and Lachlan Mead, rounding out the top 12 there, Scott.
Yeah, Blake Walsh and Paul Bryan are going to be starting out of your second half of the field. Thomas Mitchell from Kobe Noonan, Jamie Stovall and Nathan Vanderwacker. The Vortex Sims Sports entry out of 18th. Oscar Ames out of 19th spot. 20th spot is going to be that of Brock Thompson, Aston Hurley and Hadley Boyce. Rob Crawley and Darcy Walker are going to round out the tail end of the field.
It's going to be a big jump up from Hurley and Walker in particular. They'll be hoping that top 10 is in sights for them, but it's going to be a long and tough race. This is some of the most brutal stretches of dirt oval in iRacing here at Fairbury Speedway. What we can say is that the bottom has come alive. We're going to be seeing a lot of drivers working down low.
Yeah, the track has now widened itself massively out. There's a couple of bumps starting to form in that top end of 3 and 4 as well. And we will see how this one goes for us.
Zach Rattray White and Joel Berkeley on your front row, and Berkeley is away. Rattray White a bit sluggish on the start there. Harry Stewart moving immediately into second to challenge Berkeley for the lead. He's sticking to the inside beautifully, is the number 96. Oh, but he can't get the momentum on the exit. Berkeley keeping it straighter up the front there. Tim Ryan working his way forward as well. He's up to third, keeping Darcy Wilson and Matthew Stables behind.
Yeah, here they all go though. Everyone's starting to fight over that bottom of the racetrack, but as the more drivers move their way down to the bottom, it's starting to give them some issues. And just having a quick look at some of the lineups at this point in time, who's starting to cut their way through the field. Davies is up to 5th spot at the moment, running around in a nice spot. First caution, and there's another big incident. Oh boy,
no.
That is a car firmly stuck in the barrier. And it's Jamie Stovall as well.
Deary me, Jamie Stovall getting absolutely pummeled by the Kraken from Kerbal Space Program, it seems. Jamie Stovall will be out of this one. The engine's blown, and the 987 will take no further part here, potentially. If he can get it towed back to pits in time and gets a fast repair done, he may be able to get out there. Of course, fast repairs are available within the first 10 laps of an ODSE event. But yeah, I don't know if he'll be able to get back there in time. What exactly happened to Stovall? Looks like it was contact from down low, potentially. Aston Hurley to his inside, and yep, just came up into him and got absolutely wedged in the barrier.
Wedged in the barrier, wedged on the catch fence, and just wedged all around. Nothing that he could do. No drive forward, no drive backwards, not a wheel on the ground. So I'm going to be forming up, I think, here to go back to green in just a few moments. 4 laps we got in. How big was the fighting in the middle of that pack too? It was just cars everywhere.
Yeah, crazy fighting. It's a very compact track, is Fairbury, and you know, you might not think it with how wide it is, but yeah, you're really having to scramble for positions here. Well, position 1 still belongs to Joel Berkeley, and it's a very even start from our front row there as Stewart switches up to the high line. Berkeley immediately down low. We'll see if Harry Stewart can hold on to that position in the top 3, because Tim Ryan, along with Matthew Stables and Clayton Davies and co, were all trying that low line. Darcy Wilson there as well. Davies, yeah, he's certainly got some great form here from the past. See how far they can work forward.
It's 3x3 at the front, Reese, because there's 1 run on the wall, that's Stewart. There's 2 run on the bottom, 1 sort of more in the middle, and then it's another row of exactly the same in behind these guys. Somebody just caught the barrier. I think it might have been Steve Duff who got stuck in the barriers. Now they'll start to organise themselves out. The bottom's starting to fade off just a little bit, but have a look for the run that's coming out of Joel Berkeley's number 9. Moved it down the middle, covered off the run from Tim Ryan.
Certainly did, and it looks like the highline is really coming back. Harry Stewart was the first to realise that. He's now jetting away in the lead as Berkeley and Ryan fight amongst themselves. They got Clayton Davies and Bradley Oldfield in there with them as well. That number 10 is looking interesting up the top there. And Oldfield looks like is trying the same thing. Darcy Wilson in the number 5 still stuck down low. And into the wall there goes the 10 of Davies. Got to be careful with the damage model on these cars, not to get into the wall too much. That will be incremental damage he'll be carrying forward.
Yeah, and I think Tim Ryan really tried to throw a slider and find a window to slot into that top group. Didn't quite find it. Now he's back to wrapping the inside of the track, and he catches the big old tractor tires as he come on for 4 as well. That's going to allow some speed for Oldfield up high. He's going to come through. Ryan's fallen off the podium.
And Darcy Wilson now up into 3rd as Oldfield there is working the top. It's that old dichotomy of low line versus high line. Aston Hurley being given the black flag, I think, for incident cause, as the caution is back out again for a different incident. Looks like the number 28 of Thomas Mitchell involved in that one. And we will find out in short order, thanks to our friends at Suit Speed on the replays, exactly what happened to him. Yeah, looks like we're getting some pretty good green flag runs here in spite of everything.
Have a 4 wide.
Coming up.
Problem is, look at how little space there is to operate. It's narrow. Well, it's actually quite a wide racetrack, even though it's only 400 meters in length. But look at how close they're 4 wide again. They're all trying to feed into the top lane.
Yeah, we're still waiting to see exactly what happened here, as it looks like Brock Thompson and Hayden Vickers have been given... No, they haven't been given black flags by race control. There it is, the coming together. Oh, Thompson and Vickers were involved in that as well, but for the 28 there, that was rather tough.
You can just see, Reese, that they're just all backed up into each other, aren't they? There's basically very little room to operate, and you're going to be side by side with someone. So you've got to pick a line with where you can run that and run it quick. And the problem is, if you're going to change your line, you've got probably a second to do it.
Yeah, very little time to react around a track like Fairbury. If you want to commit to the low or high line, you got to pray that a gap opens up in front of you, and you're going to have to compromise whatever you do. Harry Stewart taking the lead in the last green flag run. He's going to lead us away here, but we still have Darcy Wilson, Tim Ryan, and the purple machine of Matthew Stables finding their way down to the bottom. The entire field spread out here as Berkeley is going to have a go at Stewart for the lead. He's getting into the slick, though. The caution is immediately back out. Something's gone wrong there. Someone down on the infield. It looks like it might be Hurley.
Yeah, it was Aston Hurley, and he made a little bit of mistake, got the barriers, drifted down the track a touch, and then just got cleaned up because, again, nowhere to go.
Yeah, Darcy Walker was the other car involved in that, and Walker did nothing wrong, basically. Hurley hit the barrier in front of him, and it happened so quickly that Walker didn't really have time to get out of his line, so that's the reason for that caution. And we lose another car from the field here. We are, I believe, outside lap 10 as well, so there isn't going to be any more fast repairs. There's the barrier, and there's Darcy coming in there, as the green flag is already back out. Very short caution, and it looks like it took a couple of drivers by surprise. Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley have now seen Darcy Wilson try and be the lead driver down low.
Yeah, he's trying to run that bottom of the racetrack, look for a little bit of grip and turn down there. He's finding the bite at the moment, but he's going to run it super slow through the corners, and then he gets out to the slick out the other side. Tim Ryan had a little bit more bite that time because he didn't try and light the rears up in the slick, and that's that super narrow line that you're going to try and run. Or you're up in the fence, and if you're up in the fence, it is a worn out racetrack, but that's where the speed is right now. Caution back out.
Yeah, a lot of cautions here. Cars stopped. Paul Bryan, I believe, one of the cars to bring that one out. And it looks like it was contact with Kobe Noonan that brought that caution out. The number 42 getting turned, and then Hadley Boyce and Thomas Mitchell came steaming in.
Yeah, it's just over and done with. That's happening so quick again. So again, you can just see 4 wide. When you try and feed the car and you're adjusting every single time, remember? No mirrors here either in operation.
So keep your eyes peeled for the coming together here. It actually looked like a poor run out of the corners from the car ahead of the number 42. And oh dear, yeah, it's just all these trajectories lining up in the exact wrong way.
Yeah, tiny little trip up, and the gear ratios are so short, you're just getting so much drive. Single file, we're going back to green this time by just about halfway into this one. And lead still with Harry Stewart. Berkeley and Oldfield are going to be the ones to try and harass him. Can Darcy Wilson find something on that bottom run? Once again, Clayton Davies starting to find some speed off the top, but against the middle and exit, where that bottom line is so much better.
Yeah, looking at the middle down the straights there as the caution is back out once more. Was it Noonan that brought that out? No, it wasn't. That's interesting. It looks like maybe John Schultz. I honestly don't know. We'll try and find it, but yeah, it looks like Schultz
was around.
So keep an eye on the aerial here. Oh, car in front moved up and Schultz was sent clattering into the barriers there. That's major damage there for Schultz, who it's a real shame. He was in the top 10 and he was looking for his best night of the season so far, but it's going to come to naught for the number 78.
Yep, and unfortunately it looks like Blake Walsh was the driver that might have got into him. So he's been sent to the rear of the field. So I think that would be the reason for that one, and it looked like that was the right coloured paint. But did get, unfortunately, into Schultz there. But here we go. I think we'll be back to green at this time by. Field is reorganised. Single file restarts yet again. 19 to go when we go green.
And if it stays in this order, we will have a new championship leader, Jay has told us. Clayton Davies will take it by 2 points from Nathan Vanderwacker, but that's all depending on if the order stays the same. If Davies gets it up a little bit, then he might take it back, but oh dear, the cautions come right back out again. It looks like we're really struggling to get laps going here.
Yeah, and again, everyone's just stacked up. The big issue is, last week we saw a lot of cars run out of fuel at Eldora. And I'm just wondering, now Fairbury's a lot shorter speedway, the track is worn out significantly more, the lap time has changed significantly more. That may lead its way back into things, but there might have been a few guys who are a little bit tight on their fuel window. We may end up with a situation where, with the number of cautions we've had, guys start running out of fuel.
Yeah, that is potential there. Oh goodness, wheelie of the ages there for I believe it was Hayden Vickers, and well, he'll move on out and take no further part tonight. Green flag back out. Let's hope to high heaven that we get some more green flag laps in here, because the chaos is starting to erupt at a very worn out Fairbury Speedway. Tim Ryan still holding on to a position in the top 6. Darcy Wilson and Clayton Davies trading spots here. It's still Nathan Vanderwacker in the championship lead for now, but Clayton Davies needs to get those couple of positions back if he wants to take that P1 spot.
I can tell you Vanderwacker just got the barriers as well, racing with Lachlan Mead. So he is throwing everything at this to try and grab a couple spots. Mead is going to send another big old slider on him at the moment. That actually gives the advantage back to Vanderwacker, and maybe the slider's not the way to go. See the car bounce around through the middle and bottom of the corner. Now Vanderwacker gets up to 11th spot and he's going to clear. Opportunity to find some speed. Clouting the outside barrier. This is where it's all starting to balk up, and have a look at Blake Walsh. He went to the rear. He's trying to cut his way back through. And Walsh threw a slider right there. Did he quite get the job done? No, not quite. And he's forced to drop back in behind Block Thompson. There's the crossover move from Walsh.
And look at how slick the entire track is here. You're barely able to find any fresh clay out there now. And you're basically stuck running the high line at this point for maximum speed through the corners. See how hard he's working the wheel as well. Joel Berkeley holding on to second place, though, as we turn our attention back to the front. And he is really starting to challenge Harry Stewart. Harry's trying his best to keep the car straight on the exits here, but it looks like it's not quite working out for him. Maybe a little bit lower exit for Berkeley will give him the momentum he needs.
Yeah, and it's looking for that bite. Sometimes pointing the car nice and straight just gives you that drive off the corner that you're really looking for. Oldfield's now starting to track the pair of them down. We're going to end up with a three-way fight for the lead in just a few moments. And just waiting for Joel Birkin to throw the slider. He gets to the inside. Is he going to send it? Not quite. Holds up a lane off the wall, leaves the room for Stewart. Stewart hangs on for one more lap.
This is going to be a very interesting finish. We got Bradley Oldfield there in third as well, looking for his first feature win of the season. Harry Stewart looking for a turnaround in his fortunes, as well as Berkeley just collects the barrier with the right rear there, but he translated into another good run. Now Stewart's starting to dip a bit lower on entry, and it seems like it might be working out for him, but once again, the wall is right there. It's so difficult to get the run around this circuit. Trading spots further back between Clayton Davies and Tim Ryan for fourth and fifth. But this aerial view is showing us the story of Berkeley going for the lead on Harry Stewart. There's going to start to come up to lap traffic as well. Darcy Walker and Rob Crawley.
Yeah, 4 to go, and Harry Stewart just got the barriers as well. Here comes a slider, you would think, from Berkeley. Sends it, parks it on the high line. A little bit of momentum for Stewart. Here comes Oldfield as well. Traffic in the way. Slider in response from Stewart. 3 wide for the lead. Here comes Berkeley. He's nicked it. Oldfield to the middle. Can he find the bite? He got some momentum. Can't take the bottom. Traffic's in the way.
Oh, and that's no momentum there for the number 51. He's going to fall back into third spot. Stewart now trying on Berkeley for the lead, but Joel is keeping it up beautifully on the outside. Oldfield gets Stewart, moves up into second. The final lap is upon us, and Berkeley has gotten the advantage he needs. Oh, dear. Yep, a little bit of a trip in the back there, but Berkeley is going to take the win in the feature here at Fairbury. Oldfield taking it over Harry Stewart, with Tim Ryan and Clayton Davies rounding out your top 5. My goodness, what a finish.
Yeah, phenomenal job done. And I was just thinking back, it was Berkeley that's won this race historically as well, wasn't it? It was
yeah.
Clayton Davies in 2024, and all the way back to 2025, years later, Joel Berkeley goes back to victory lane.
By a whole second over Oldfield as well. Stewart another couple of tenths behind. The lap traffic really influenced that top 3. Ryan getting a P4 with Davies in the top 5. Darcy Wilson and Zach Rattray White 6th and 7th. And then we go back to 5 seconds back for Steve Duff and Matthew Stables. Oscar Ames rounding out your top 10 there. Nathan Vanderwacker, I believe, may be equal or maybe just off the championship lead, finishing in 11th with Walsh, Mead, Mitchell, Thompson, Crawley, Walker, Boyce, Vickers and Schultz rounding out your top 20. Big shame for Boyce, Vickers and Schultz in particular. They were not able to make it all the way through. Neither did Noonan, Ryan, Hurley or Stovall. Jamie, the first car out of this feature. Man, what a night here at Fairbury Speedway, and I think none are going to be happier than Mr. Joel Berkeley, who joins us now in the comms box. Joel, 5 years ago, as Scott said, you took the win in the 360 Power Series.
5 years?
Yep, back in 2020,
Jeez.
and now
Back
you're
when I
back to
was
victory
good.
lane. Yeah, well, hey,
that was probably my last win in this series.
may very well have been. Well, it looks like Fairbury is your track.
Yeah, we'll get around pretty decent, but we had pretty good setup, to be honest, and yeah, I think that proved with all of us being up front there.
Yeah, the Ulick guys were absolutely caning it in this feature, but the track, once again, it's a characteristic of Fairbury. The further the night goes on, the more slick there is, and it becomes very hard to find that pace down low.
Yeah, well, in all the practice we did, the races are like all over the racetrack, but obviously you can't factor in getting a yellow every 2 laps at some stages there, and the crumb's fallen away. But yeah, it was pretty racy for being how slick it was, I thought. But yeah, can't complain with the result there. Just tried to stay patient behind Harry as long as I could, and when it was time to go make a move, sort of thing, because I knew we had better tyres than him after he was pounding it pretty hard pretty early.
Well, maximum championship points there for you, and you're a bit low down in the championship standings coming into this race, but this should give you a nice boost.
Yeah, it should give a great boost, and great for the team's championship for me and Bradley. He was up me for not doing my end of the deal, so I think we've started to climb our way back through the ladder and see what we can do. And I think we should be able to make most of the race now. So with all the drop rounds that factor in, it'll be interesting to see where we shape up. And felt pretty good last week. Just made a mistake in the heat race and network dropped out in the feature. So bit of a shame, but yeah.
Well, regardless, the win is yours, Joel, and it's left to you to thank who you need to thank for your performance tonight.
Yeah, look, massive thanks to the boys back at Ulick. Brad and Darcy we've been working to try and get the cars really good, and Brad's built some absolute banger setups, and yeah, it's proved tonight with 4 of us running in the top 6. It's just Darcy probably should have had a setup in that could rip the top, not run the bottom there, but it showed with all of us being up there that we've got really good cars and just got to do our job right, and hopefully can. I don't know what's next. I think it's Oswego, isn't it? Which will
Yeah, it is.
Really, I really don't know what to expect for that. But yeah, we'll wait and see what rolls on at Oswego and what we can do from there. When's that?
Excellent
2 weeks time?
stuff. Yep, 2 weeks time for Oswego Speedway. Congratulations, Joel Berkeley, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Hopefully make a habit of talking to you more often.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a while. Joel
It
Berkeley
has been.
in the winner's circle once again in ODSE here at Fairbury Speedway. And, well, Scott Rankin's managed to catch up with Bradley Oldfield, who had a stellar second place.
Bradley Oldfield, it was a good old run. You were sitting there, you were looking comfortable, and then your boys got to fighting out front. 3 wide for the race lead, my guy, in the middle of lap traffic. That was all about a bit of race management, and sometimes you just had to sit there and go, yeah, look, I might just have to take P2 here.
Well, it was good fun. I was we were all in the same Discord call, so we were all chatting. Well, as much as you can when you're just like concentrating pretty hard. But no, I was happy just running third for most of that, and then I said to Joel, like with 5 to go, I was like, if you got to make a move, you better do it now, because I was starting to get a bit impatient, and then yeah, he started getting racy, and then yeah, it just worked out the way it did. But always when you're racing with guys that you trust, it's always going to be clean racing like that.
I think the big thing late on in that one was it wasn't run the outside wall all the way around. It was to sort of turn it down a little bit, point and shoot off the eggs. It was about the only way you could find bite. That was a slick track, but it's going to be like that for 400 meters in length.
Yeah. I do think that if you had like nailed it around the top and followed it the whole way, it still would have been faster, but incredibly tricky. And I think the safest way and minimalizing like the mistakes made, you're better off just cutting off your exit like that.
Mate, been a pretty consistent season. You're starting to find a little bit of pace, a little bit of consistency, and points are starting to come your way. You're feeling a little bit more confident you can maybe have a challenge in the back half here?
I wouldn't have thought it leading into the season, but yeah, as you say, just being a bit more consistent, and Ethan having a bad night again, just that just helps me. I don't think I've got the raw pace to some of the top guys, but I think, yeah, if I can just keep putting together consistent runs and just keep R&Ding with the setup, I think we'll be pretty good. Pretty happy tonight having us 3 at the front. We're all on the same setup, and I think at some stage we were streaking away from the rest, so I was pretty happy that some of the hard work's been paying off already.
Mate, finally, floor is all yours. Thank yous to the sponsors and any shout-outs you'd like to give.
Pace Apparel, Sticker Suspension, Ultra Engines, Oldwood Settlement Services, Comex Civil, all the guys back in the Discord. Congrats to Joel on the win and Harry for third. I know have a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth after leading 30-something odd laps of that, but no, it was ripper race anyway, so congrats to both of them.
Well, Bradley Oldfield will say goodbye to us. We'll say goodbye to him, and then it's hello to our final podium getter of the night, Harry Stewart, who was having an excellent race up the front there. You managed to get that high line working quite early, Harry, and the momentum was with you there. But then the cautions came out one after the other.
Yeah, I've just lack of running up front in these races. I didn't really expect the tire drop off to be as severe as it was, sort of pushing that first big run we got. I was pushing decently hard, not being a complete hero, but way more than Bradley and Joel. And we're all pretty much, I think we're all on the same setup. So, and then my tires were a lot less percentage. So just had no idea about that. And then obviously Joel and Bradley were just did the right thing and sort of sat back and just controlled themselves a bit better than I did. And yeah, I guess that cost me in the end, but I think Joel probably had and Bradley, they were a lot quicker in all the sort of practice runs we had anyway. So just happy to finish. I finished 2 races in a row now, so this is groundbreaking things. Pretty much, well, it's May now, and I've finished 2 races the whole year. So yeah, no, happy with that.
As you should be. Very solid finish, and maybe this will set you up for the rest of the season. In a couple of weeks' time, we go to Oswego Speedway, which is a track that is completely new to me. Do you think that you can give anyone any hints as to what to expect?
I think I did a big block race there, and that's about it. Bloody fairly flat and just long and big and just not my sort of thing. And it's 410s as well, which I've been absolutely rubbish in. So I think I have absolutely no idea what it's going to be like or what to expect, but I guess it'll be something new for pretty much everyone. So it'd be cool in that aspect where people will be figuring it out on the fly properly.
All right, looking forward to it. Anyone would you like to thank before we let you go, Harry?
Yeah, just all the lads back at ULIC for doing the race and all the hard work, and Bradley for building the set with Joel and Darcy and sort of just letting me scum it off them, just rock up, and yeah, they'd put in all the hard yards getting the setup sort of dialed in. So massive shout out to them, especially Bradley. He sent it to me at the end because I forgot to save it like a melon. Everyone on the card, Titan Garage and Sheds, the Landscaping Yard and Hardware, Tour Mobile Welding, 87 Creative, Down Under Graphics, Kush Clothing, Brad Gray Bricklayer, you guys for doing the live stream, and Brady and his whole admin team for putting this on and making it as professional as possible. Oh, and Wide Open Clothing for sponsoring the series.
Of course. Thanks very much, Harry, for joining us. See you next time.
Cheers.
Harry Stewart there to round off our driver interviews. And Scott, the championship standings will still fall to Nathan Vanderwacker, managing to get those crucial few points that he needed to stay ahead of Clayton Davies. But that second place finish for Oldfield has rocketed him to within 30 points of getting that P2 in the championship.
Yeah, that's the big key, isn't it? Just putting points in each and every week. Paul Bryan's having a really, really strong season. It's been a while since we've seen him consistently performing towards the point. Made the feature tonight, didn't go his way, but still a bank of points on the board. And the big thing is, have a look at Ethan Winter now. He is now 126 points off the lead of the championship. Vanderwacker hasn't put in any splash in the pan finishes, but he hasn't had a bad finish either. And I think that's the big key as we're sort of seeing this season develop. He's finished tonight 11th spot, just enough, and we checked in with him a little bit earlier on, was running in there around that 15th spot, couple spots picked up. That's enough to keep him back in the championship lead. But yeah, Clayton Davies has missed a feature. Oldfield's, I think, missed a feature. Oldfield actually might be having a quite consistent one, but most of the guys here in that top 10 now have all missed a feature. Brady Baldwin, that was his chance to miss a feature here tonight. So the thing is, they're all making mistakes. There is no one who's nailing it this year, and I think that makes it the best that we've seen in a good while.
Yeah, absolutely. This is shaping up to be a classic season of Australian dirt sprint car sim racing, and the fun does not stop. We're only just completing round 6 here. Round 7 going to be in a couple of weeks' time at Oswego Speedway, and as I mentioned in my interview with Harry, first time I'll actually be seeing anything at Oswego, so it's certainly going to be a learning experience for me, and well, we're just hoping that the fighting is just as intense as it was here at Fairbury.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be certainly a rookie to Oswego as well. So hey, man, that's a good means that we're both going to be out here and wowed by everything they've got for us. And 2 weeks' time, ladies and gents, watching along at home, I can't wait.
Neither can I. Thanks everybody for watching here on SimSpeed TV, whether you came from YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Kick. We appreciate you being here. I'm Reese Gardner, Scott Rankin alongside me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes here on SimSpeed TV. Big thanks to OzCub Service for bringing you the racing this round, to Wide Open Clothing and all the rest of our sponsors for helping to make this series possible. The 2025 Australian Sprint Car Championships by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events moves into its third phase at round 7 Oswego Speedway on the 22nd of May. Hope to see you there.